Okay, sorry about that. The memory card only holds about 20 minutes of memory, and I wanted to continue going through the game with you on this. And I should be able to finish everything because the game total probably takes anywhere from 30 minutes if you're fast playing to an hour. Again, I stopped off with the swapping of, well, not really swapping of positions here. Anything you do to activate a battalion costs you cohesion, other than play a card. Cards are free actions for the Marines. So at the start of my turn as the Marines, I'm going to go through card play. I could play this recuperate action, which allows a battalion that's not adjacent to an enemy controlled position to roll a die. So if for one of my plays, I wanted to, for the 1st Battalion, 2nd Marine, whose current cohesion is a 7, but he's down a 2 markers, I could play this recuperate card, at which point the instructions tell me to roll a die, and on a 1 through 3 I recover that many cohesion points, and on a 4 through 6 I add 1 marker. All the cards are based on historical things that occurred, as well as how I did the actions. You wouldn't think a battalion would pass through another battalion, but they did. They'd rotate them if they were taking excessive losses, they might rotate a fresh battalion up and pull out a beat up battalion. This was 76 hours of very intense fight, and anybody that's ever seen any documentary on the Pacific War knows how brutal it was. These were small islands, and they were pure hell. Now, playing a card does not take away an action. You get to perform 1 action per turn with the Marines. Some cards allow multiple actions, but that's card specific. There's a command coordination card that allows multiple battalions, up to 3 battalions to activate in 1 turn. That's a great card if you get it. However, because at the start of the game you only get 24 of your 30 cards, you never know what's been taken out or added in. I have cards for the engineers. Remove 1 Japanese bunker from any Japanese controlled position. Well, how that works is some Japanese cards will add a bunker or pillbox to a Japanese position. You take a brown marker, you put it in that position, and if the Marines attack that position, the first hit doesn't come from a Japanese unit. The first hit is taken from a Japanese bunker. So it allows them to absorb more damage. There's also cards for, again, this is a command coordination card. You can move up to 2 battalions in 1 turn. You can transfer markers from 1 battalion to another. So say I'd had the 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines here, and I'd had the 1st Battalion, 8th Marines back here. I could have played a reinforcement card that would have allowed me to move 2 of these markers from the 1-8 up to the 1-2. I rotate these face down, and they are part of the 1-2 at that point, because the 1-2 is the battalion they've reinforced. What would happen on a reinforcement card is that would actually raise the cohesion of the 1st Battalion, 2nd Regiment. I'm going to call them, when I say their names, it's going to be Battalion Regiment. So that would raise the cohesion of that battalion by 2. It wouldn't lower the 1-8, because he's already facing the penalty of losing 2 markers. So that's how a reinforcement works, as opposed to a move. And again, these are card actions. They're free. You get to do 1 during the Marine turn, 1 during the Japanese turn, and then at the start of your turn, you draw a new card. Some cards, and some of my favorite are the heroism cards. There definitely were some heroes for the Marines in here. Colonel Shoup, Ryan, Bunnyman. Any of y'all know the actor from Green Acres, Eddie Albert? He was a hero. He was one of the Coast Guardmen's naval reserves that drove the boats up. And actually, he ended up rescuing a number of Marines that had been wounded and were in the water. He came under heavy fire. So yeah, old Green Acres Eddie Albert was a hero during this battle. But they allow you to ignore cohesion losses or marker losses due to Japanese attack. The key to the game is, again, you're performing actions as the Marines. Your decision points are: where are you attacking? How are you pursuing on the island? There are crossfires on this island to where during a fire attack, the Japanese player will, I call them fields of fire, they're really crossfire. But if a position, for example this one, has more than one position adjacent, each adjacent position would get to attack the Marines there. So if I had had that fields of fire card, this Japanese position would get a fire attack, this Japanese position would get a fire attack, and this Japanese position would get a fire attack. Each rolled separately, so you don't roll 9 dice and total them, you roll 3 separate fire attacks, but that's a lot of fire attacks on one position. And you can see there are based on the airfield, which was one of the keys to the island, multiple positions. So getting to the airfield, taking that, breaks up a lot of those, and also taking multiple adjacent positions. You know, if I take 2 positions, well, that breaks up some of that field of fire. Bad U.S. cards, there's 2 cards in the U.S. deck that are called bad intelligence. And basically what they do is they give the Japanese player a double go. You ignore the U.S. player's go as soon as they're drawn. And that reflects, 1, the poor intelligence on the Marines getting over the coral reef, and also just poor information about the Japanese defending on the island. They had numerous heavy weapons. They, I believe it was 500 bunkers on the island. That's just incredible. But again, you look at some of these island fights, Peleliu, you know, Iwo Jima, you know, just the pure hell these Marines went through digging out the Japanese defenders. I do not take anything away from the Japanese defenders on these islands. You know, from an American point of view, you know, we have our vision that, you know, after Pearl Harbor, yeah, you know, the Japanese were the evil, but in their position, we were. So I take nothing away from, you know, the Japanese defenders on these islands. And I reflect that in the cards. The banzai attacks are deadly. The Japanese commander, anybody that knows the story of the battle, he'd given up his heavily reinforced command post to be a Japanese field hospital. Like in the first hours of the battle, he's walking across the island to his next command post. A Marine spotter sees him, orders in artillery or naval batteries on him, and they wipe out virtually the entire Japanese command staff. It's thought that if he had lived, he would have ordered a massive banzai counterattack on the Marine defenders on the beach, which could have been disastrous considering how the battle was going at that point. Instead, the Japanese command structure was destroyed, and the banzai attacks were broken down somewhat. So if the Japanese Shibazaki killed card is drawn, a marker is placed in the Japanese commander killed box, and all banzai attacks are reduced by 1 die. So instead of 5 dice, you're now rolling 4 dice. And then there's a communication destroyed card. The Japanese had laced the island with, you know, wiring and all so they could communicate. If that occurs, the banzai attacks lose 1 die. The Japanese rolls for the 2 attacks are different too. For the regular fire attack, if they roll a single 6, the Marines remove 1 marker from the battalion being attacked. A 4 or 5, it reduces the cohesion. A single 3, you re-roll the die, and on a single 2, it cancels any 6 rolled. 1 and 2 are good for the Marines. A double 1 eliminates the Japanese marker from the position attacking. For the bonsai attack, almost everything is a single one because of the ferocity of the attack, and it's being played through to the death. A single 6 removes the Marine marker like before. 4 or 5, same. Single 2 or 3, the 2 doesn't cancel a 6 anymore. 2's a reroll, and a single 1 is eliminated Japanese marker. So it's more likely the Japanese will be eliminated in a bonsai attack, which reflects historically. For the Marines, you roll a double 6, you remove a Japanese marker. A double 5, you remove a Japanese marker. 4, the die can't be re-rolled. 3, the die is re-rolled. Double 2s, the battalion reduces its cohesion by an additional. And double 1s, you remove a Marine battalion. This really gives you the overview of the game. I appreciate you viewing. My battery's about to die here. I'm getting the flashing signal. I don't know what's going on with my camera. But anyway, this gives you the idea of the gameplay. I appreciate you watching. We launched the project on January 23rd on Kickstarter. I hope you'll follow and back. We've got a number of interesting packages involving more solitaire games. And thanks for watching. I'll be posting more videos here soon. Thank you.